Welcome, everybody, to this Thursday edition of the Streakers Island Podcast. I don't feel like screaming my entire guts out today.
Podcast!
But Dan feels like doing it, so that's how we rock and roll. It is I, though, of course, J-Mo, a.k.a. Jacob Moore Sports Analyst, a.k.a. a whole lot of other things. Some names aren't very nice, but we're nice on the island. We also have Chazzy, the CEO, who's very quiet in these intros, I'd like to add. And Dan Moore, more for your money.
Woo!
Who I gotta say has a little bit more color to his face today. You can tell he was outside today, right? So he doesn't quite look like Casper. He's got some complexion in there. Look at those rosy cheeks.
Working on my tan, bro. I'm all gangsted out to my Air Jordan outfit, bro, so that's pretty cool.
We have another very
back in 2003.
We got another busy show, and you guys might notice now we have name keys on the screen. So if you forget who we are, now you remember.
How on earth can they forget us?
Because they're not like us.
Yeah, they're not like us. They're not like us.
We're going to talk about the Rookie of the Year race in the NHL.
Ooh.
We're going to talk about the CFL Commissioner speculation.
Well,
Playoff race in the NHL.
playoffs?
Does Bronny James really deserve the hate he's getting?
Yes.
And so much more. But before we get into all that awesome stuff, the NHL had their GM meetings, and some stuff people are happy about hearing, some stuff people are not happy about hearing. So I like to start off, I like to get the bad news out of the way, if that's the way I like to work. And to me, this is bad news. Gary Bettman loves this playoff format more than Chazzy loves his milk.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Whoa, it's exciting getting the best teams of the best early in the playoffs." No, it's not. Like, we look at it, we're going to lose either Dallas or Colorado. Potentially, we might lose Florida. We're either going to lose Florida, Toronto, or Tampa. We're going to lose Edmonton or like Vegas. Like that, we lose too many good. Can you think about in the first round? Imagine if we lose Colorado, Edmonton, and Florida all in the first round.
Yeah. Wide
you
open
just
after
wiped
that.
out half the competition for who realistically has a good shot of winning the Stanley Cup. And I'm going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat here, and maybe you guys will think I deserve the clown book for my thought. I think it's just to screw everyone on the betting odds, and that's why they're doing it this way. I'm going to say it. I think if we weren't in a climate where we are now, where there's so much money riding on this, I don't think you see it the way it is. But I think they love it that, hey, let's take out half the odd favorites in the first round.
But see, if you play the Streakers app, you don't have to worry about the odds.
You can just be odd like us.
That's right, odd ducks. Quick.
But I know we've talked about it on the show before, but for people who are new viewers, I don't think any of us like the current playoff format. Do we? Chazzy?
No, not necessarily. Because it's all about the excitement of the race. Like for the last few years, haven't you guys already known you're playing Boston in November?
Yeah.
Or December? Like, really, where's the excitement of that coming down to the drive of like who you're going to play?
100%, right? Because you go and we already know who we're battling. And this
unless
year
the fans like that. Unless the majority of the NHL fans like that, which
I don't think they do.
I find it so boring. I'm already even talking about it.
It's not the feedback I ever hear. Whenever I talk to the average fan, they're telling me they miss the old format, or I would love maybe a new format, maybe the NBA format where it's a play-in tournament to start. If you want to keep this whole division, if you want to keep the division faces the division, it would be interesting if in the East and the West, the bottom four teams, so let's say for the East, for example, Ottawa, Montreal, Rangers, Islanders right now would all have to battle in a 1v1, one game, winner gets the playoff spot. I would prefer that over what we have now.
I like maybe a mini 3-game series would be cool.
Yeah, but if you go back to the 1 versus 8, like going after that 8 spot, it's always been exciting. It's always come down.
That's the best way to do it, 100%.
When they used to do it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because when you look at it the way it used to be done, we'd be seeing some differences, right?
Right.
Like, funny enough, Toronto would be playing Tampa, which is what potentially we'd be seeing right now. But Carolina would be playing Ottawa, to put that into perspective, right? So there's something a little bit different. Florida would be playing New Jersey versus now we have Florida. If let's say Florida doesn't win their division, they'll be playing either Toronto or Tampa. So it's almost like finishing higher in the standings. Unless you win your division, there's no advantage to it, right? Like there's no, if anything, I don't know why once a team rises, they can't win their division. I don't even know why they're even playing all their top players down the stretch.
That's an interesting point.
Carolina, whether you finish second or third in your division, it doesn't make a difference. Right. So why are you pushing these guys so hard? Okay, I get you get home ice, so you potentially might get one extra home game. And I mean, some people say setting the tone at home is good in a playoff series. Some people think it's bad, and you're almost better starting on the road. But there's not a big advantage to finishing second versus third in your division. There's a big advantage to finishing first. But seriously, if I'm Carolina, why am I pushing so hard, potentially getting injuries? We know they're going to play New Jersey.
That's a good point.
For months.
See, I'm just trying to remember back when they had the 1-8. Is the NHL worried about the blowout series?
I don't remember a lot of blowout series, though.
Look at Los Angeles; they finished 8th and won the cup.
So it just doesn't make sense where you're feeling confident in this format when if the majority of the base is like it's not working.
I think it's different too. You look at sport like the NFL or the CFL when it comes to just one game versus hockey. It's a 7-game series, right? Anyone can beat one team in any one game given night. When it comes to the 7 series, you gotta win 4 games. 1 versus 8 can be really interesting because one team can just really learn how to beat one team really better than them 4 times. Like it can happen.
Unless they feel all 4 series are competitive, mixing it up this way.
Which I'm trying to think back, and I can't think of a lot of. I mean, obviously there's some blowout series, but look, we had Colorado Winnipeg last year. That should have been a tight series on paper, and it was a total blowout. Colorado destroyed them, right? So we're still seeing the blowout series either way because, as Dan said, in a 4-game and it's best of 7, sometimes one team just matches up against a team better, even though on paper, let's say, like a prime example, on paper, Toronto was a better team than Ottawa. Correct?
Yes.
But Ottawa's had the advantage during the regular season because Ottawa, the way they play, match up well against Toronto.
Right.
So that doesn't necessarily mean we're avoiding a blowout series in these ways because we still could end up getting it.
Yeah. 100%.
I don't know. I'm disappointed. I mean, I've never been the biggest Gary Bettman fan.
I'm upset.
It's just, well, I'm not upset. I'm not going to cry about it and hold my blankie the way you are.
I'm very upset about it.
You're so upset you're eating the ticker again. But I look at
50,000's disrespect, yeah.
I look at what's going on here, but Dan, you really should move away from the camera slightly. But I do look at what's going on, and I think changes need to happen. I agree with you, Chazzy. I would like to see the old format come back.
100%, yeah.
But there's been other talks too in these conversations. They were talking about the All-Star game, and Gary Bettman, which you agree with him in this, is saying they don't feel they can really go back to the same format because 4 nations really set the bar high.
100%.
I don't know if that means we're getting a 4-nation series back in 2026.
Oh, we have to. Like, that was way higher than anyone ever expected.
But let's be honest, I don't know if that was more it was the political climate was charging a lot of that.
Okay, it helped a little bit, but look at the games versus Sweden and Finland. Like, no one can possibly hate Sweden or Finland. And that game was still a very entertaining game. Those games of Sweden versus Finland was still way more exciting than the All-Star game. Let's just put that out there.
Okay, but you hated Sweden when you couldn't get your IKEA breakfast the other morning because they weren't open yet because you didn't read the website properly.
Oh, that was ridiculous. You expect at 9 a.m. you can get breakfast. Like, come on. Even me as like waking up at that point, you know? Like, if it was 6 in the morning, I get it. But 9 a.m., like, half the society should be up by then.
But the interesting thing I'm seeing a lot of people talking about is Russia, if they'd be let back into the 4 nations, 4 nation style, whether it's a 5-nation or a 6-nation. The players are calling for more countries to get involved.
100%.
There's also been rumblings about a U.S.-Russia summit series, which, again, I mean, seeing best on best is what the fans want. And I would, for just a pure hockey standpoint, ignore everything else. From a pure hockey standpoint, that would be exciting hockey. I don't think anyone can deny that.
It would be amazing. Hockey would be the first sport to allow Leicester back in it. I think it would be amazing to be the first one.
So you're going to have this 4-nation type series every year?
100%.
Well, I don't think every year.
Minus the Olympics?
I think when there's Olympics or the World Cup of Hockey, there'll be no 4-nation. So basically, I think there'll be 4-nation best on best country-based tournament
every other year,
once every 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
The other years, just don't do anything. Maybe still, and I think they could maybe add on to the competition. I'd still like to see a skills competition back, even if it's just the highlight reel skills. Like, let's be honest, some of them skills comps were boring, but maybe just get back to hardest shot, most accurate, fastest skater. Those are the 3 everyone wants to see.
I'm just going to say something. Let's be honest here. I think 4 nations should be every year, because let's be honest here. 4 nations way better than these stupid outdoor games.
But that's not the same thing.
I get it's not the same thing, but every year you have that wow factor. Like you travel to some random country and no one's knows anything about, or you have an outdoor game or whatever. Instead of doing something like that, just bring in the 4. No, it's not crazy. Bring in the 4 nations,
That's like saying I don't like how the Raptors game was, so I think they should have played. I think they should have knitted me a sweater.
I think if the Raptors did knitting competition, they could probably win.
I mean, like the outdoor games make the NHL way too much money. They're not going away. You can pack those stadiums of 60, 70, 80,000 fans. They sell the merch like crazy. The TV ratings are high. Yeah. They're not going away. And they don't replace an all-star break. This is what they're looking at instead of all-star breaks. I think if you go back to an all-star format, it almost has to be like when they used to do North America versus the world or something along those lines, where it's still playing for your country more so than just
the all-star game's dead.
But I do think I don't see an all-star game coming back anytime soon. No. What do you think, Chazzy?
Yeah, no, I don't. I can't see it every year. And if they've already said it's hit the bar, they still got a couple of years to think about it, because you got the Olympics and such. We may not get a decision, but in these meetings, did they speak anything about the draft eligibility?
Ooh.
Yes. So that's a huge conversation. They didn't really release details, but the NHL wants to go back to a previous format rumored for the draft eligibility. And there's been a lot of different things going on now with NCAA, as people know about that. If or anyone who doesn't know about that now, people who play in the CHL can now go to the NCAA next, which is giving a lot of players more opportunities. I've seen it at in the OJHL level, where we're seeing guys who are playing in the OJHL, the Ontario Junior Hockey League, and they're getting a chance to go play a game or two in the OHL, which was never happening before, because if they did that, then they weren't eligible for NCAA. Now they are. So I think the NHL needs to change their draft eligibility. I'm expecting them to start changing it where you can draft older players.
Oh, I like it.
Because if you're going 3 or 4 years in the CHL and then you want to get your degree in puppy analytics, and that's going to take you 4 years at Notre Dame. I don't know. I just thought of a random degree that probably doesn't exist. So maybe now, instead of trying to get into the NHL at 17, 18, you're probably trying to get in at 23, 24, which is
like the
whole rookie of the year thing as well. So I think the NHL is going to have to adapt.
It's almost like basketball. They were talking about it. I forget who was talking about it the other day about basketball and how much older the guys are now, still playing in college hoops.
But you know what? I'm not against it. You look at it. I'm going to use Matthew Nyes as a prime example. He came into the NHL later because he played NCAA and finished his degree and got smart. Very intelligent man from Arizona, I'm assuming. I've never met him personally, but I'm assuming he's intelligent. He has intelligent eyes.
Yeah, he looks intelligent.
But you look, he hit the NHL at around 22, 23. And his maturity level coming into the game was so much more advanced than some of these younger guys who are in this weird spot where they're too good to be in the AHL, but they're not quite ready for the NHL yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with these new changes coming in, I do think this is going to be beneficial for player development. It could hurt some of the junior A leagues like the OJHL and the ECHL, I'm just being honest here, because now the route to Division I schools can be through the CHL, right? Where before it couldn't. So we could see, I'll be interested to see if we see a downtick in talent. But at the same time, you have players who aren't making an OHL roster every day. They'd rather be in the league like the OJHL, get their minutes, get their playing time, and then get a chance to go to the OHL or the NCAA after. Our prime example was Ryder Cali out on the Milton Menace. Phenomenal. Everyone calls him the super rookie. And because he led the team in scoring for almost half the year as a 16-year-old. That is unheard of in this league. Yeah. That's unheard for you guys. I don't know if for our viewers who don't watch the OJHL, highly recommend it. That is unheard of in that league, right? And now he's got some chances to play in the OHL, because before he didn't have that advantage. But I still think it was beneficial for him to play in the OJ this year, because he would have been battling for a line spot, maybe not even in the lineup, or at best a fourth liner, getting 6 minutes a game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but I do agree with you, Chazzy. I think the draft system itself, and I apologize for my tangent, but I think the draft system itself is going to have to adapt with the changes that's happening at the junior level. You can't leave it status quo. So what are we going to do when these 24-year-olds are rookies and are not eligible for the draft? Which is going to be a free-for-all, and whoever signs them, signs them.
Yeah,
where's the eligibility? So,
but then why do we even, if that's going to be the case, why have the draft? Like, seriously.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it could get very creative if you left it that way. Because
portal.
Well, that way, teams like Toronto and Vegas that never get a high draft pick or trade for first overall draft pick can still potentially get a rookie. You look at like Tyler Bozak, right? They signed him as a free agent in his 22-21 because he went the NCAA route. Brian Burke really started that, going the NCAA route, and look how great of a player he became. Okay, he wasn't a Connor McDavid type of player, but regardless of what team he was on, he made the team better. And I think you're going to see more and more players take that route, and I kind of like it, to be honest, because then it gives teams like Toronto, who never draft high, an opportunity to get a great rookie, and it brings out for scouting. And I think the thing is, too, by seeing this happen, is a great change in the overall game of hockey. It's showing now that people are getting into the sport younger, and more people are getting into the sport younger versus, like, you know, basketball and soccer and football, whatever. It's like all these tons and tons of people getting into it as teenagers in high school. And now we're seeing it grow even more so in hockey so much. We have to talk about changing draft. Like, this is phenomenal for the game of hockey, regardless what the decision is.
I want to say too, and I don't know if this is on your guys' radar yet, but this could make a big difference too from players coming from overseas.
Yeah.
Look when Kaprizov got signed in Minnesota. And then he's this 23-year-old who is a super rookie, even though he was arguably not even a rookie because he was playing professional hockey overseas. And now could we maybe see 23 and 24-year-old from Russia having to go into the draft instead of teams just being able to sign them right away, right? I think that could be a way to get it where maybe even too we're getting the bad teams are actually going to get access to all the best players available. And as Dan pointed out, a team like Toronto might be able to get a really good rookie later in the draft still, because then the draft's going to have more of these like 22, 23-year-olds. And then you might see some of these 18, 19-year-olds slip further down, which is going to give another chance for these other teams to bring them in. I think it's just going to make the draft more exciting. Because I'll be honest, I think the NHL draft has gotten very stale.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
When I buy bread that's half off in the grocery store.
And
you can boo me all you want, Mr. Hat.
The draft is never boring, bro. I mean, look at all the cool, it's not. Look at all the cool trades that happen. Look at people on page just to sit in the stadium and where the draft happens, okay? You have them holding multiple phones in here. Blah, 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 blah. Like, it's exciting, bro.
Number one, they don't hold phones like this anymore. In the 1990s called, they want their telephone back. Number two, you're seeing less and less trades in the draft too, and I think maybe we'll see more trades at the draft if the draft picks there's more flexibility with them, and there'd be more flexibility. Maybe go the CFL route and make it where you can actually defer a draft pick to another year. Ooh. You can choose to do that in the CFL.
I didn't know that.
If you have a top pick, you can actually defer it to the next year.
Wow.
However, you can't be a first overall pick in the next year. It will get moved down to best it could do was third. But let's say there's a weak draft class and you defer, but then you're guaranteed a lower draft spot. Then it'll give other teams a chance to get a higher draft spot. I'm not necessarily saying that would work in a 32-team league, but it's just, I think the NHL, I hope these meetings are as interesting as our conversations on the island. That's all I have to say.
Well, let's say that if you're going to expand the age of the draft, instead of 7 rounds, could you see it having like 9 and 12 round draft?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
So instead of a 2-day draft, now it's a 3-day draft.
Maybe it's an age group draft.
Yeah.
You still have your other ones of the rookies, and you have another age group of 21 to 25, right? And it's just, I still think there'd have to be a cutoff. It would have been weird when like Tim Thomas came into the NHL as a rookie in Boston at 36. If he had to be drafted, that would have been strange. But I mean, I do think the league needs to make some adjustments to their drafting system.
Yeah, interesting.
But we got to move on to our next topic, and let's get into the wild card race. And so we saw Toronto get a big win on Wednesday night, beating the Avalanche, which I predicted 2-1. Thought I would just
you did. Congrats.
Yeah. And you predicted that Matthews will get a goal, which we said he wouldn't.
And you guys were right about Brandon Carlo playing over 20 and a half minutes. He played.
Yay!
So look at that. We are all smart cookies at the end of the day. The planner system works, my friends. But the wild card race is getting very interesting because Ottawa's really pulling away, I feel like. I don't even think Montreal can catch them. I mean, it's possible, but I think Ottawa's kind of got that first wild card spot. If they can continue to get points consistently. They have points in 8 out of their last 10 games. They can continue to get points in 6 to 7 games. I think they'll hold on to that wild card.
They can catch the Devils. They got 2 games in hand on the Devils too.
I remember the Devils are in a different division.
Sorry,
this is where the whole division thing is so stupid.
See this playoff format
because Ottawa can't do better basically than the first wild card unless Toronto, Tampa, or the Panthers fall apart.
And I don't see any of those teams falling apart. I think it's the opposite. I think Ottawa could fall apart still.
No, get right.
I can't explain it. I have no reasoning behind my statement. It's just a hunch.
Okay, Captain Crunch.
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just.
Can I state what's a very interesting thing in this wild card race? The New York Islanders, baby, they're creeping back. They are 3 points out. Have points in 7 of their last 10 games. Won 6 of their last 10 with an overtime loss. 3 regulation losses. They're finding ways to get points.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with the Islanders, they have goaltending and they have the experience.
Just traded away Brock Nelson,
and they win those 1-goal grind out games. They're always on the winning end of those.
Now the main question, the $1 million question is, and I'm just pulling it up now. What does their schedule look like?
No,
because this is the team I think we all wrote off. I think you guys would agree. I finally wrote the Islanders off recently. Yeah. And here's a big thing, okay? So they play Montreal.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule. That's why. They're one of the toughest schedules.
But they play Montreal on Thursday. So that's a huge game.
Yeah.
You play Calgary on the weekend. That game doesn't, obviously you need the points, but not as crucial. Then you have
Calgary's going to be for that playoff spot.
But then it's critical for both those teams. But what I mean is, they're not worried about giving up the points.
Maybe see that one going in overtime.
This is crazy as it sounds. If the Islanders beat Montreal, beat Columbus, and take Calgary to overtime over these next 3 games, next thing you know, they potentially leapfrogged.
Wow.
That is the one thing I will say. The wild card race is exciting. I think it'd be just as exciting for the race to 7th and 8th. But either way, the Islanders, now their schedule doesn't get it starts to ramp up a bit. You got Vancouver after that, who's been on a run. Tampa, and then Carolina, who somehow, once they traded away all their good players, they became better.
Yeah, it's a crazy one too.
Then you're facing Tampa again, Minnesota, Washington, Nashville's not great. Rangers are a tough team, which that's a big game too versus your Rangers. Flyers kind of suck. Then you got the Devils, Caps, and the Blue Jackets to close the year. The Islanders have a I would say a moderate schedule. You got some games that if you can win, you have a shot. I can't believe I'm saying it now, but I mean, you guys might think I'm insane, but I think the Islanders have a legitimate shot.
Circus book.
Chazzy, do you think I deserve the circus book for that take?
Oh no, they definitely got a shot. They got a shot. I got the jersey out and I'm starting the beard because we're in the playoff mode after that big win
nice.
against the Sens. So I'm hoping the Canadians, but yeah, they definitely got a shot. They've what do you say, 6 of 10 or
they've won 6 of the last 10 points and 7 of their last 10.
Yeah.
See, I saved because I'm getting witty, because once the playoff starts, it's going to go like crazy. So I want to believe a little bit beforehand.
And now let's take a look at the West, right? Because we talked about the East a bit. And
very sad news about the West. San Jose is mathematically out.
Wah, wah, wah.
So,
however,
this is a tight race.
A lot of us thought Calgary, after that tough loss to Vancouver, were kind of done. Well, they found a way to rally again, right? They got a big win the other night after losing, but they lost to Toronto, but they got a big win before that. However, they got to try to leapfrog the Blues and the Canucks, and the Canucks have looked better of late. I know they're 5-5 in their last 10, but they've looked better of late. I'm starting to feel what Dan's feeling and feeling confident in these St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
Winners at 3 straight, relatively even record, whether it's home or away. Only team fighting for the wild card spot with a positive goal differential.
Right.
I'm starting to feel it could happen. I'm not saying it will necessarily, but it could.
I'm not saying this will happen again, but don't forget the year St. Louis won the Stanley Cup. They were in last place in the league at the end of January. Then they squeezed into that 8th spot, and then they won. I'm not saying they're going to win the Cup this year by any means, but I don't know. I'm shocked that we're having this conversation, but I think out of the teams that are left, St. Louis is the best.
And they got a big game tonight versus the Vancouver Canucks. Like,
you have a favorable schedule too down the stretch.
They do, right? So you got Vancouver, then Chicago, then Nashville, Montreal, easy. Nashville again. Okay, easy. Colorado's a good team. But even you look at this month, besides Colorado, you could potentially go on a big run here to close out March. And you go on that run.
It's a little easier than Vancouver. Vancouver's got a little tougher schedule here.
And according to the Blues website, if I want to go to the game, I should stay at the Hilton. So that's good to know. But yeah, the Blues have a relatively easy schedule to close out March. And even going into April, I mean, you got the Red Wings, Penguins for your first.
But are you counting the Flames out? 73, 2 games in hand.
You have a very good chance to jump in the Flames.
I'm not counting the Flames out yet.
I'm not counting the Flames out either just yet because that team's got a lot of heart. And I think for the Flames, they're in a situation, and Chaz, I'm going to say this, I'm not saying Montreal's not going to make the playoffs, but I think they're in the same situation. Just to be in this conversation right now is a huge success for the franchise. I think Montreal is in that same situation. I think so is Utah.
100%.
I think teams that have been selling in the last few years.
So is St. Louis.
Blues. These are teams that people didn't think they would get there. And then I look at teams like Detroit and Buffalo, and I think they're disappointed that they thought they'd be better than they are right now.
I'm surprised about Buffalo that they fell as from
Detroit. I should also
say holy cow, that was a surprise. And Detroit, you go on about Larkin and Wayman and Patty Kane. I thought Detroit was going to have a good year this year. I don't know what happened.
Well, I know what happened. They just won and got a bunch of goalies.
Well, yeah, basically.
Yeah, you're still sour about that.
I am.
It doesn't make any sense.
Remember, viewers, though, make sure you're on the Streakers app for these big games coming down the stretch because we got some really big games going on and play and earn and join the fun. Yeah. But you know what else is big coming up? Is the World Hockey Championship.
Ooh.
So it looks like Kyle Dubas is going to be the GM, which I was a little surprised, but
what?
Okay. So I want us to each quickly, because we're running a little heavy on this segment, but that's okay. We're going to quickly go over guys who will make the team. I'm going to go first, and I think you got to bring Jordan Eberle if he wants to play and he's healthy. I mean, I know he'll want to play, but if he's healthy enough to go, this guy is one of the best clutch players for Team Canada, always goes to these kind of tournaments, has scored some of the biggest goals in Canadian hockey history in the World Juniors. Like, I think this guy's got to go. Dan, who would you bring? Who's your one guy that you're like, got to get there?
Everybody's been playing well lately. I would say the guy you picked in the 1v1, Jacob, Sid the Kid. I mean, Sid the Kid, I know he's injured and stuff, but I think he wants to represent Team Canada again and really prove that he should be in the spot in the Olympics. So, yeah, Sid the Kid.
And remember, if you haven't voted on our 1v1 yet, the polls are not going to close until the weekend.
Yeah, I thought they're closed now, but apparently not.
We might even go live on the weekend.
Ooh.
We might not, but I'm pretty sure we will. But Chazzy, who would you bring? Who's a guy that you're like, it's got to be on this team if you're Kyle Dubas?
Connor Bedard. 18 goals, 35 apples, still 53 points. The only thing that hurts him is, which I didn't realize, is his plus minus on the Blackhawks is horrendous. Minus 36 this year and minus 44 last year, but he's still putting up 53 points. 20,
But at the same time,
the
Blackhawks goal differential is a minus 59.
What?
They have the worst goal differential in the East.
Like, he's got 24 power play points.
They actually, actually, fun fact, Chicago has the worst goal differential in the entire NHL.
Wow.
So,
well, I guess if you're
I don't really know if I'm
minus 40 or 36.
I don't know how much I'm focusing on Bedard's plus minus rating of how bad that is.
No, you can, and it's bigger ice. Where is it this year?
Good question.
No, we don't even know.
Oh, in Europe somewhere, I would imagine.
We will tell you right after this commercial break. See, we have the power to look it up. So don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to dive into the NHL Rookie of the Year race and so much more. We'll be right back. And in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. And you know what? I was concerned about Chazzy. I figured I would be like his parent and say, you need to wear a sweater, young man. It's chilly. So we took off the jersey and put on the Streakers sweater.
I think Chazzy's got a new talent, not just CEO. He can be a quick changing act. He did it so fast, I didn't realize. I'm like, whoa, what just happened?
But you know what?
Blown.
I think that is how Bronny James feels about his experience in the NBA so far. Whoa, what just happened?
Well, what do you expect?
He is getting so much hate.
He still just got his name changed.
He's a 3rd round draft pick. People are talking about, like, I got it when in the NHL when Neil Yakupov got a bunch of hate because he was a 1st overall pick, and let's be honest, he never lived up to expectation.
Like Alexander Digg.
Sure. Yes, Alexander Dagg's another prime example. But Bronny James was a 3rd round pick. And I understand all the, he's the same name as his dad, blah, blah, blah. And I get it.
His name is Smith.
But,
like, did we have this when the Griffey Jr., Griffey Sr. played together?
I don't remember that.
What about Gordie Howe's kids?
Well, Dan, I'm not that old.
Yeah.
But
because this is the first time a father-son and the magnitude of what LeBron James brings to the game. But this is the first time a father-son's played in the league, no?
Yeah, and I totally get that. But, like, and yes, it is. But, like, people are going after Bronny James, not just on his playing ability, but on a personal level. Like, we've seen it from Stephen A. Smith as a prime example, where him and LeBron James had a pretty heated argument at the side of the court last week. But, like, he has gone on straight up about Bronny James doesn't deserve the James last name. And I've seen this from other people online. And if you want to go after the guy for not being maybe as good as you thought he was, fine. But they're acting like he was supposed to be the next LeBron James, and he wasn't. He was supposed to be a mediocre bench player. And you know what he's been? A mediocre bench player. I don't, and when I say that, even, like, personally, I think the biggest mistake was him being in the NBA this year. Should have played one game just so him and LeBron played together, and then go to the G League.
Commit to the whole league, yeah.
Go to the G League.
But he's holding himself with all this scrutiny, is he not?
Yeah, because that's been part of it too, because there's been rumblings that he'll only play home games in the G League, that he won't travel.
What?
Which that's it's an issue, right? But I just don't think he quite deserves as much hate as he's getting personally.
So does that mean LeBron James is going to retire this year?
He might. He's got to retire at some point. He is slowing. I mean, he's still dominant, but he is slowing down.
No, he's got to keep playing.
Wait, you want him out there with his walker? Like, I'm LeBron James.
If he's selling tickets, why not? Look, we basically had Tom Brady until he was with his walker. Tom Brady looks like he can still play now.
The Lakers have Luka now, so they got the next coming in Lakerville once.
Okay, well, then dump
James
back in Cleveland. Put him somewhere. Hell, Cleveland's a not the nicest place, but still,
retire a Laker.
Like, whatever. No.
I think we might have found our clown take of the night already, just at the beginning of the second segment. But you know who else have been clowns? The Toronto Raptors in their last matchup. They lost by 40 points. And now Jazzy did point out off camera, this was coming off a back-to-back after a tough game to the Trailblazers.
But still, we're seeing more and more of these absolute blowouts.
What really frustrates me the most with this Raptor team, I want to read you 3 quarter box scores, and then we're going to go after the last one. So the first quarter, Raptors 29, Suns 24. Third quarter, Suns 30, Raptors 24. Fourth quarter, Suns 36, Raptors 25. Okay, so they're relatively even-ish, right? Raptors won one quarter, Suns won the other two, but single digits. Second quarter, the Suns outscored them 39-11. And this is what I keep seeing from this team. One quarter, they just forget how to play basketball.
Do what I think it is. No one's really talking about this, but I don't really think it's the players at this point. I think it's the coach. I don't know why we fired Nurse in the first place. Just give him his money. He won the championship. He wanted to stay. Then we fired Nurse and bring in this twerp we got now, whoever he is. They should have just kept Nurse. I mean, you're not going to keep Nurse. Well, get a better guy than what they got. I think coaching's a big problem.
I think it's more lack of experience from the players. I think
they'll practice more.
I think the bench is an issue too. And let's be honest, the team hasn't been healthy half the year, but it's no excuse. I don't even care who the coach is. I don't care if I'm coaching the team. There's no excuse to be blown out at least once a quarter almost every game. How many games have we seen it where the Raptors are in games and it's just one quarter that they completely fall apart?
Yeah.
Right? And we're seeing it too. They seem to really struggle in the second quarter. I don't know why. They just didn't eat enough for their Wheaties, and they're not up to full strength. They're playing the Warriors tonight.
They didn't have a long enough ice bath.
No. And the crazy thing is, if the Raptors could have pulled off a couple more wins, the Heat have been terrible, and they maybe could have squeezed into a play-in spot.
It's possible, yeah.
Unless they're tanking and just to get
another. Yeah, big
pick.
trade they did.
I just when they were coming into the deadline, they were playing well. I was expecting more from this group.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't been there. I've been out truthfully. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Just I'm upset. But let's move back to the NHL and let's talk about the rookie race here. And you guys may think I'm crazy, but I think Dustin Wolf should win. If I was voting, Dustin Wolf is my rookie of the year out of Calgary.
Even if they miss the playoffs.
Absolutely. Because number one, everyone's going on about Celebrini. They're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
San Jose, they've been mathematically out. Dan cried for 7 consecutive minutes.
Yeah.
We don't know if Montreal's going to make the playoffs or not. They're in a similar spot to Calgary. I mean, I think a better chance to Calgary, but they're in that fighting chance area. And I personally think when the rookies are tight, I want to look at impact. And I'm not saying Lane Hudson hasn't made an impact, Chaz. He's made a huge impact to the team. Calgary was expecting to be terrible.
Right.
And Dustin Wolf has stolen so many games for that team. He's got 3 shutouts. He's in the top 10 in save percentage. And he's got a good goals against average. He has been, I would say, in the top half of goalies in the NHL. You put him on Edmonton. Edmonton's probably up there towards Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Right? I think he's been a big difference maker. I don't think goaltenders get enough credit in the rookie of the year race. Only 15 goalies have ever won it.
Yeah.
And I look at what Dustin Wolf is doing this season. I think he won't win it. I'm going to say that right now. He won't win it. It'll probably go to Celebrini.
He's averaging just shy of 20 minutes. Celebrini. He's averaging just over 3 on the power play, but he's got 7 power play goals and no assists.
Well, San Jose has no one to pass it to.
They just
And I'm not saying Celebrini's not a good player. I think Celebrini is, in my opinion, he's
50 points right now. He's 50 points in 56 games.
I think he's exceeded expectations for San Jose coming into this season. I wasn't expecting a whole lot from him.
Yeah.
But I look at Dustin Wolf, and I'm even going to say Lane Hudson in Montreal. I've been blown away with the skating on this guy. His edge work is Quinn Hughes level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a very, very, very talented guy. So I feel it's definitely between those three. I don't think Mitchkov and Philly has much of a chance. What are you, a seagull?
Yeah, I haven't asked my opinion yet.
All right, fine, Dan. Who's winning Rookie of the Year, bud?
I disagree with you. I like Celebrini and Wolf for great human beings, but I really like that Miskov. The guy you say is not going to win it. He's got 20 goals and 47 points in 67 games. I guess Philadelphia is not making the playoffs, but the reason why I love Miskov is because I've actually watched a few Philly games here and there, some highlights and stuff.
What highlights?
What?
I said, what highlights?
Well, okay. I know it's not much, but still, this Miskov is a game changer. He's got a lot of skill. Have you ever seen him on a breakaway or a shootout? I think if Miskov was on a better team, he would be in a much better compensation. And I think not so much this year, but as guys like Ovechkin and everything is getting older, I call it. I think Miskov is going to be one of the big franchise players in this league in the next 2 or 3 years.
I agree. I think he's a very talented young man.
So that's why I would give him Rookie of the Year. So call it first here on Streaker Island. I think Miskov's going to be the guy we're talking about in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I could see that. He shouldn't win Rookie of the Year, though.
Why?
Because he's not the best rookie this year.
No.
It was kind of like when Ovechkin and Crosby are going Rookie of the Year. Someone had to get it. And I think Mitchkov is in the conversation. He probably finishes 4th in voting.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's a top 3 because I think your top 3 is Wolf, Celebrini, and Hudson.
So would you say Hudson, Chazzy?
Oh, I'd say Hudson. Like, he's got
Hudson's a great player.
5 goals, 48 apples. He's
48,
averaging over 22 minutes as a rookie. That's insane.
But I'm going to argue a little bit. Dustin Wolf is a starter as a rookie.
I'm looking at he's got a 262 goals against, right? So both of those, and it's like they're impacting their team. Like, they're both in the playoff hunt. That's why I'd take these 2 studs over the other 2, just because of the impact of what they're doing with their team trying to push for the playoffs here.
And I'd say the impact on the league as well, because both of these teams were not expected to be in this conversation. And these are 2 players that have been big difference makers on why their teams are in this conversation.
100%. And if Dustin Wolf kind of reminds me of Andrew Wyckoff, I think he was one of the last goalies to win Rookie of the Year.
He was the last goalie to win Rookie of the Year.
Wolf
not long ago? Wow.
Was Wolf highly scouted? Like, was he expected to be good for Calgary?
He played really well in the AHL the last couple of years.
But not this good. People were comparing him to Dennis Hill to be in Toronto, to put it into perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And Dustin Wolf, because Dustin Wolf is very undersized. He's only 6 feet, which is very undersized for an NHL to go netminder.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a battler. He stays calm and cool and collective. Even the game in Toronto when he allowed 5, I didn't necessarily feel he was pulled because he was playing bad. I personally thought it was a mercy pull because Calgary was just taking penalty after penalty after penalty, and they were just leaving Wolf out to dry. You got to go back to that game when it was 2-1 and Wolf made the huge save. Then Calgary scored to make it 2-2. The goal didn't count because it was offside. But right up to that point, Dustin Wolf was keeping them in that game. And that's what he's done for Calgary this year. He's kept them in a lot of games. Everyone thought when they lost Jacob Markstrom was going to be a huge setback. And Dustin Wolf just went, hold my beverage, and has been able to turn that around. And I would argue the same for Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
I think people expected Montreal to not really have a defenseman to run the power play. I don't know, Chaz, if you disagree with me saying that. But Lane Hudson has taken that role, and I think he's exceeded expectations. Like, if he was getting his report card from his manager when there's below expectations, meets or exceeds, he's exceeding and getting that extra 0.5% bonus.
Yeah,
because he has just been I think, in my opinion, it's a 2-horse race right now. I mean, as much as I think it's going to go to Celebrini, just because the NHL seems to give it to forwards more than defensemen and goalies. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it's a 2-horse race on who I think are the 2 best rookies in the NHL. I think
now
it's
Dustin Wolf
or Wolf.
Would Dustin Wolf be as good if he wasn't on such a defensive team like Calgary? Calgary's very defense first.
Wolf is facing a lot of shots per game, my friend.
Yeah, but all basic shots.
But you could argue, you could argue then that Lane Hudson has a bunch of assists because he's passing it to Patrick Laine. He's still got to make the pass. Wolf's still got to make the save.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Same. I mean, mind you, it's the same argument I used to make out Martin Brodeur to people, saying, yeah, he gets all these shutouts because you'd throw the best defense in that era.
Yeah, for sure.
He's only faced like 20. He used to only face about 21 shots a game versus like other goalies were facing like 27 to 31
for Twin Scots.
But that's our takes on the Rookie of the Year race. But comment somewhere, wherever you feel like commenting. I'm turning this into a short. I have declared it. Comment below who you think will win the Rookie of the Year race.
Just don't blame it on us. I don't want ink on my skin.
I want you guys to get a tattoo gun and tattoo on Dan's weenus. He said weenus, so like right here, right there. Who's going to win Rookie of the Year? Chazzy just looks done. Yeah. He's like, why are we talking about Dan's weenus at 11:57 at night? But let's move on to Toronto Maple Leaf talk. And, and I want to talk about the goalie battle here because this always gets Dan riled up.
Here we go. More controversy.
I'm not saying controversy. I think the Leafs are in a great position right now. But who would you start in the playoffs if it was tomorrow?
I
thought you guys were all over Stolarz.
I'm not over Stolarz. I think both goalies are playing well. I just think Wolf's playing a little bit better right now.
Jacob,
Daniel,
this is that conversation where you're like, oh, you just need something to talk about for sake of something to talk about. Like, there's no dispute here. Stoloff should be getting the number 1 position. He's the only one comparatively in the top 10 save percentage. He's the only one that's wasn't a top 10 goals against average until this recently. Like, if he didn't get injured, he would have won the Vezina, would have represented Team USA. Like, he's really
he wouldn't have. He would not have represented. You really think he's better than Connor Hellebuyck?
No, but I think he would have been better than Jeremy Swayman.
Well, I'm better than Jeremy Swayman someday.
Well, yeah, me too. But what I'm saying is he didn't get injured, right?
Okay, but then why did Joseph Woll get the start against Colorado then? I think Berube
was stupid.
But he played great.
He did.
So I think what Berube is doing right now, and I like what he's doing, he's giving both of these goalies some big games and say, whoever can wow me the most will get the game 1 start.
Wow.
And that's what I like right now. I think friendly competition with goaltending can strive for players to be better.
Do you think it'll have something to do with who the Leafs face?
It could also have to do with who's healthy. I hate saying that.
Well, not just healthy, but you think about, do you really want to start off facing Florida?
Yeah.
Mind you, do have a back-to-back. You got Rangers?
No, I know, but I mean, I think it's almost a calling card because you normally start your better goalie against a better team. Let's be honest. The Avalanche are better than the Rangers. Now, the points against the Rangers.
Well, got lit. Well, I guess what you'd say he had. How many? He had 5 in?
5.
Yeah. 5.
But the Leafs played terrible the last time against the Avalanche. Not last night, but I mean like the game before that. They played terrible. I know the game is close, but they played terrible.
Maybe it was Wall's his turn, maybe.
I'm not saying at a controversy in a bad way. I'm saying it in a good way. That this team has the potential to really find out who their starter is, and I think it's a goalie battle. I don't think you just hand Stolarz the net for round 1. I think it's whoever's playing better.
I am hearing more and more. I don't know if you guys are hearing it about top lines. What in Ottawa? Top lines not scoring on the 5-on-5. They're only scoring on the power play. Some of these top lines.
And I know what Ottawa. We're seeing the exact same thing in Toronto.
And Troy, yeah, I guess Toronto. That's why I'm bringing it up because I know you guys have said that before, but I think Ottawa's the last one they're saying.
Yeah, Ottawa's having that same problem. So Toronto has gone with the 5 forward power play group to try to.
I don't like that.
I like it situationally.
Are they getting more shots?
Yes and no. When it works, it's magic. When it doesn't, it's terrible.
What, they just can't set up when it doesn't work?
No, I'm talking like the other team's getting 2 and 3 breakaways within a minute.
Oh, okay.
And we've seen that happen where the goaltending's really had to bail them out. So I look at that situation. If you're protecting a lead, don't run the 5 forward power play group. There's 2 minutes left and you're down a goal, run the 5 forward power play group. Even to start the game, if you get a power play, run the 5 forward power play group. But if you're protecting a 1 or 2 goal lead, 5 minutes left in the third, it's more important to not give up a goal than it is to score another one.
Now, are you going to 4 with O'Reilly usually?
Yes, that's what I would do.
See, I disagree with you when we have a player like Morgan Wiley. Like, if we had a team where all our defensemen were just sticks with standouts, I could get it. But Morgan Wiley is one of the best defensemen in the league, and he's got a great slap shot, which is underrated. He's got a great wrist shot. He's amazing at passing, amazing at skating. He just going to sit him on the bench. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, mind you, he's on the second power play unit, and that second power play unit's looked a lot better with the 2 defensemen and the 3 forward look as it's simplified.
I think we should just go back to 2 defensemen period. Look at McCabe and Leeds back in the day, McCabe and Cowboy.
Completely different era of hockey back then.
Well, I know, but bring it back. Bring it back.
Also, too, the Leafs don't have 4 offensive defensemen. What's the second group going to be? Tanev and McCabe?
No, but I'm saying for the first pick, you could have OEL and Wiley.
And who are you putting for the second group?
I don't know, 5 forwards.
No. But no, Chazzy, you are bringing up an interesting point, and I think the reason why the 5-on-5 top guys aren't working as well anymore is teams are really focused on shutting down the top line guys.
Right, yeah.
Right? So you look at the Leaf game last night as a prime example, and the Leafs really focused on shutting down McKinnon and Makar.
Yep.
That was their main focus. Shut down those 2 superstars. And I know Makar's a defenseman, but the guy could be a forward.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Like, I mean, he's the best defenseman and he's the best overall defenseman in the NHL right now. Like, the guy's stupid talented. But I think teams are more honing in on trying to shut that down. But then on the power play, there's just open ice. The only that's weirdly enough, Nylander is still finding ways to score 5-on-5.
Willie,
I do feel that is just because he has a knack of finding open ice.
we're too busy checking him out.
I think it's the opposite. I think they keep losing him.
No, because it's so gorgeous, right?
Sure. Dan thinks the whole NHL wants to see Willie with no shirt. But no, Chazzy, you bring up an interesting point. We are seeing that more now where the top lines are not getting it done 5-on-5. I think part of the problem with Ottawa not getting it done 5-on-5 is their top forward group. It's with trading Norris and bringing in Cousins, which has worked. But it's just a chemistry thing. Right, I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that to gel. We're seeing the same thing in Toronto with Jan Krook coming back in the lineup and Lawton being added and Carlo. It's taken some time for that to gel.
Yeah,
we saw that in Montreal. As much as Patrick Laine went on a tear to start, then he kind of slowed down again. It took him some time to gel. I think after the deadline, you're seeing top teams with their top forward groups that they made changes to. It's just it just needs to build chemistry.
Yeah. If we have Colorado and Niskov, and he just added in like it was perfect.
Yeah, but Colorado, though, McKinnon was the driver. The other ones are just hanging on for the ride. I think that's the big difference. Nathan McKinnon, I'm going to say this now. I think Nathan McKinnon is just as good as Connor McDavid. I really do.
Yeah.
And I don't think Nathan McKinnon gets enough credit for how good he is. He's also great in the Tim Hortons commercials when he drives his Zamboni in the drive-thru. So, like, very talented guy.
Doesn't Sid the Kid drive the Zamboni, or does he?
I think Sid drives it.
Okay, well, fine. I bet Nathan McKinnon could drive it, though. I have faith in him.
So which one's better, Nathan McKinnon with Timmy's or Connor McDavid with McDonald's?
Oh, Tim's all the way. Canadian.
I agree, 100%.
Canadian.
Yeah, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do that like from a decade ago.
Yeah, but it's not
shots.
It
was it with Gretzky? Who was
Gretzky and Lemieux?
And Lemieux.
Yeah. But I wouldn't compare Matthews and McDavid to Gretzky and Lemieux. Not yet.
No.
Not yet. No. But Chazzy, we're going to do one of our favorite things that we like to do when we talk Leafs, and this is line flip-flopping, because it happened again on Wednesday night. Jan Krook and Holmberg now flip positions.
Yay.
So Jan Krook midway through the second period, was bumped up to the second line, and Holmberg was bumped back down to the fourth.
I called it.
Mind you, I like Jan Krook on the second line better than Holmberg.
Me too.
I thought Holmberg had a pretty quiet game. I do wonder maybe this is where David Kemp maybe draws back into the lineup for against the Rangers tonight.
I would, yeah.
Maybe he won't. I don't know, but he could. But I don't know. I'm very iffy on the lines continuing to change as much as they are. I really think Berube's got to keep a lineup and let it run for a little bit.
Do you think Berube's just trying to find a lineup opening night at the playoffs, and that's why he's doing it?
Yeah, but he's not giving them any time to gel. Like, I really like the idea of trying to put Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander all on different lines. And we
Isn't it kind of funny now?
Periods.
Is it kind of funny how Max Domi's back at third line center? Everyone said they had to upgrade to third line center.
Mind you, Max Domi had a quieter game last night, but I mean, like, whatever. I'm not that concerned about that. Actually, I think Max Domi's been playing well. I think he more did that just because that group has been clicking. The Robertson, Domi, McMahon line has been working.
100%.
And actually, one thing I was impressed with that line was they iced the puck, and then they've been out for already 50 seconds, and then Colorado put out McKinnon, Brock Nelson, and Natchez,
yeah.
So you're thinking, oh boy. And the line held on, right?
Wow.
They were able to do it, and everyone was worried about the defensive liability of that line. And the beautiful thing is with that is, let's say you're protecting a lead, you can put Yarncroke out there with them instead.
Yeah.
And move Robertson to a line where he's a little more protective because he's with some more defensive guys. That's where getting Yarncroke back was such a big one. But I do feel Toronto's got to try to keep some consistency in the lineup. Like, Chazzy, we've talked about this a lot, you and I. And I'm curious about this. I want your take on this. Montreal, did they flip-flop their lines as much, or is this more of a Toronto thing?
No, I think, well, it all depends on the line, on what they're looking to do and strategy-wise. But I think all teams do this. But I think the main thing is, once you get down to this part of the season, you almost want to have these guys play. Mind you, maybe Toronto just hasn't figured it out yet, that maybe Berube's just not comfortable with what he's seeing, or he's just seeing something that we're not seeing, that he's still making these moves because he's just not comfortable with what he's seeing going into the playoffs. And I think majority of the teams are doing that, but it's this late, or I guess not this late, but coming up, like you said, you're going to want to see some consistency, and you're not seeing it.
I think we're going to start to see consistency in the top six.
Yeah.
I think Yarncroke is going to kind of hold the fort on the second line. I think the third and fourth line is where we're still going to see some flip-flopping.
I got to say, I'm kind of disappointed that Bobby McMahon or Nick Robinson's a top six quite yet. I think Bobby McMahon could be, but that's just my
but
thing.
you want them because you want scoring within all four lines.
Yes.
Or at least the top three, and the fourth line is more, especially the Leafs, the way the fourth line is now, it's more of a run and gun, run you over kind of line. It's a gritty. I would argue the Leafs' fourth line is almost like an old school third checking line. Like, it's very rough and tough. With Lawton and Lorentz, they're both guys that really like to throw the body.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny enough. So Lorentz has 6 goals this year, right?
Yeah.
3 of them are game winners.
Yeah.
Interesting factoid.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think the bottom 6 is where we're going to see some flip-flopping still.
And Pacioretty's still injured.
And then when Pacioretty comes back from the playoffs, then I think Holmberg's out, Patches is in, Patches goes on that third line, Robertson moves down to the fourth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you'd have to definitely bring Patches in for the playoff.
100%. That's why you signed him.
So, okay, then quick question then. Is Patches going back to the second line, or is he doing what I'm saying and going down to the third, and you're keeping Yarncroke on the second?
If there's chemistry up there and it's working, why would you want to change it? But
yeah, I think Yarncroke's a better fit on that second line because Yarncroke is just a Swiss Army knife. And I think Patches would add some more physicality to that third line because he likes to check.
And with him being out for so long, you don't want to load him up too much in ice time. But I will say, you're going to put Pacioretty on the second power play unit, I would think.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure they will, yeah.
So third line 5-on-5 and then second power play unit.
Then who do you take off second power play? Because right now pardon?
Youngquo.
Or then at that point, you run 4D not 4D.
Oh my God.
Forwards.
What?
And one defenseman on the second unit if they get out when there's still at least 50 seconds left.
Yeah.
So then, because then, I mean, you're just giving. It was kind of like when the Leafs used to put William Nylander on the second power play unit, which is giving him so much open ice against a weaker unit.
Like
it might be the same thing with Patches, or maybe Patches moves up to the top unit at sometimes, and Matty Nyes moves down to the second to just bring in that a bit more.
I can see that too
between the two units.
Like
who is scoring more goals this year on your blue line?
Morgan Wiley.
No one.
Wiley's got 7.
We're not really
4-4-1, I guess.
We're not
put him
really
on that second power with 4-4-1.
We have one of the lowest scoring defensive groups in the NHL in Toronto.
Yeah, I know.
Which I'm not totally surprised when they really went on size versus speed.
Like,
but I think we need to size up our lives and go to a break. When we come back, we're going to go over some critical games coming down this week, plus talk about the Canadian Football League and what the heck is going on with the big old commish. We'll be right back. And in 3,
just another number.
2, 1. Welcome back, everybody, to the Streakers Island podcast. Now, on the break, we realized something.
Whoa.
When Chazzy made a reference about some players in previously who were family members, he realized that I probably wasn't even born yet, and that's why I didn't have much to say. So there you go, folks. On the island, no matter what the age, you can still get along.
Age is just a number.
Exactly. And second fun fact, all of our eyes are blue.
Yeah.
Funny.
So, just a little, if you don't watch it and you listen to the show, now you know how dreamy all of our eyes are. So there you go.
Yeah.
Let's get into the CFL commissioner hot topic. And I don't care if he has dreamy eyes or not personally, unless I become the commissioner, then I definitely have dreamy eyes. But they still haven't named a commissioner. And I think what I'm surprised about is they don't seem...
Have they shortlisted anything?
Not really.
Have they released any names?
No.
Okay.
Here's the big problem. They want Pinball to do it, but Pinball will not do it because why would he leave the Argos? So that's the problem.
Well, and there's been rumors about Glenn Suter, but I don't really...
What?
Yeah, I don't think he'd be a good
What does he have to do with football?
What do you mean?
With the announcer?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant the hockey player.
I do wonder
at one point.
I do potentially wonder if
Gary Suter.
I do. You know what? I'm going to throw a weird one out here, though, and I'm going to say maybe a guy like Chad Owens. Bring in some, a guy that's been out of the league for a bit, but still a little more current. And I think you got to find someone who's a bit cheaper. They were paying the commissioner $800,000 a year.
Holy cow!
That's a lot of money for the CFL. I'll do it for $750. So if you're listening, CFL board of directors, I'm your man. But
what Aaron Rodgers?
Do they still have that TV deal down in the States?
Yep. And I will say, I will give Ambrosio a lot of credit. He had to navigate a lot of bad situations in his tenure. He had COVID-19. He had a recession. He had, at one point, 4 out of the 9 teams didn't have an owner. And he has managed to bring the league back to a very good spot. TV ratings were down. Attendance was down. And he is leaving the league in much better shape than when he came in.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm not saying the man was perfect, but I think he loved the game. And it's going to be hard to find someone else who's going to work as hard as he did. Because he really put in the effort to make this game better.
So out of 100, what number would you weight him?
86.4.
Ooh, not 87. Quasri will be mad at you.
Yeah. But overall, I thought he did a good job. I think I think it's his time to step down. But I thought he did a good job. He's leaving the league in a better place than what he came into. But my question, when there's a new commissioner announced, which will happen between now and 2029.
That's a long window.
What should he or she be focused on?
But who's running the ship?
But I mean, what should they be worried about? What's the first thing agenda that you're like, we need to make this better? Dan, go ahead.
10th team.
So you're saying a 10th team
in the Atlantic of Canada.
I am going to say marketing. I really feel the main reason why attendance is down in the CFL is people have forgotten about it, just like they almost forgot about Dre.
Oh.
And especially of what's going on in the world, and we talked about this last episode, this is the time to push Canadian content. Look at my hair, it's going crazy over it. Oh!
Whoa.
Push the CFL content, market the hell out of it that is different than the NFL. Because also, too, you have people who are frustrated with the NFL right now. You have the UFL and the XFL where a bunch of the quarterbacks are threatening to walk out because they're not being paid enough, even though the league doesn't make money. What? This is its time to market it. So really push the marketing on it. And I think if they can get more butts in seats, and I'm even saying work out a way where you do more ticket giveaways, work with the teams more to get more fans involved. I think the games in different cities that don't have a team, they seem to work really well. I don't know why we're not doing one in Quebec City next. Yeah. Quebec City wants a team. That's been another area that have said it. Wow. So also, too, instant rivalry between the Alouettes and we'll just call them the Nordiques for now. Nordiques. So I think, Dan, when you talk temp team, I think if you pump the marketing, which will bring in more revenue, it'll then bring in the ability to bring in the temp team. Because there's enough skill in this league for 10 teams.
Well, let's be honest. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have had our 10th team already. We already had everything in the making. And I really do. I'm not going to get into it too much. But the other problem Commissioner had was the government. I mean, the
government was not supportive of the CFL for sure. But I think he handled the situation with class.
Yeah, for sure. But that was a big problem.
But I think marketing would be, because I think the product on the field is fine. It's more than fine. I think the product on the field is great. I think you have a lot of good players, and I think you have players who are willing to be more of the part of your marketing. Look at I'm going to use the Argos as a prime example. They put more money into their marketing, and their social media does better than all the other teams in the league combined.
Oh yeah,
right. Like it gets more traction.
It's crazy numbers.
But they're doing more things with using their players in their social media. They're following trends where the CFL is not doing that.
Right.
So do that. I think maybe have more flex packs where, hey, if you buy a ticket for yourself, for maybe your kid gets in half price. And things along those lines. And I think if the league put money into that to help get butts in seats, help get merch sold, do more events.
Well, people are going to start having more kids.
There you go. Dan just wants babies so he can get into the Argos half off. That's what it is. He's going to call you, Chaz. He'd be like, hey, can I borrow your kid for an afternoon? That kid will never be the same. But no, I think that if I'm the new commissioner, my main focus, I think marketing and everything else comes. I think if you improve the marketing strategy and you market that it's not the NFL, because when they're trying to market it's an NFL equivalent, it's not. So don't market what you're not. Yeah. It is a fast-paced, high-scoring, multi-turnover league with some crazy rules. I think lean into the weird rules.
Like the rules.
Yeah, be like, hey, what other football game can a team win 1-0? That's the CFL way. Hey, 12 guys in the field, they okay with us. The more the merrier. That's the CFL way. And if they could really be...
We only need 3 downs to move 10 yards.
Exactly. They could, that trend where it's like, blah, blah, blah. Of course we're doing this. Could be like, I'm a Canadian Football League quarterback. Of course I only need 3 downs to go 10 yards.
We handle big balls.
Football League kicker. Of course the field goal posts have to be at the front of the end zone and not the back. Like, start following these trends. And I think they need to coordinate the social media better with all the teams and use the Argos as an example and say, hey, do what they're doing. Because it's working.
I wonder if the CFL football is harder to kick a field goal than the NFL.
It is actually.
It is,
because it's heavier. It's heavier. Like, for example, Boris Beatty, who has the strongest leg in the CFL at one point, could hit about a 65-yard kick with a CFL ball. I heard him in a podcast saying an NFL ball, he can hit 75, 77 yards. Just because the ball is heavy.
Or a kick or a punt?
Field goal.
Field goal. Damn.
Wow.
Damn, Daniel. Back again with the white vans.
75 yards?
Giving that...
These guys are going to be hitting field goals from their own 20.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to be like arena football where like they just kick a field goal right away.
Like how many... What do we have? 2 or 3 in the 60s? Like...
Oh, yeah. We're seeing...
50s? Like, it's insane.
We're seeing it in the CFL now with Sergio Castillo. He hit a couple 60, he hit 3 or 4 60-yard field goals this last season.
Wow.
We're seeing it more and more often, right? These kickers
So
are just
you're basically on the opponent's. You're basically on your side of the football field.
not in the CFL, but in the NFL, yeah.
No, but even with the extended midfield, yeah, you're almost. Yeah.
You're kicking out. You're kicking at midfield, and you're actually hitting them.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Difference in the CFL too is we're drafting rugby players from like Europe and Australia and stuff like that. I talk about different. So the NHL draft, the CFL draft's completely different too. You're getting players from all over the world versus the NFL draft is very boring. Just a bunch of American colleges.
You know, that's the interesting thing too with the CFL draft. They have a global draft and a national draft.
It's very sweet.
And they're bringing in a lot of these rugby kickers. They can do that backspin. You'll see it from Haggerty all the time in Toronto, who is working out with NFL teams. I think it's the main reason why Toronto doesn't resign him.
Oh, because they gotta sign him.
And the backspin this guy has is insane. He'll kick it, and it looks like for sure it's going into the end zone. It'll backspin and pivot to the corner because that's the backspin
really?
kick, which is a huge rugby thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see, but I think the CFL, they just really got to market the difference. And I think if you market it better, it'll come. The fans will come. And I think once you go to a game, you're sold on it.
You got to market the $3 hot dogs.
Argos have $3 hot dogs. Dan loves eating $3 wieners. But
I hate hot dogs. Let's say something in market.
Let's move on.
Actually, there was talking about snack food. I think it's in San Fran. You can get the baseball bats.
Oh yeah,
fill it up with popcorn, and you take the top off, and then so the top goes on and off. So I thought, damn, that's genius.
That's cool.
For a golf fan, I'll have a bag of popcorn. Like you sit there with your baseball bat and you eat out of the.
That's
sick.
Very cool.
All right, damn, whoever thought about that is genius.
Yeah.
But you know, and maybe that's something the league needs to do is work with the other teams to think of creative ways to get fans more engaged, right? And I think that would be the main thing. If I'm the new commissioner, I'm looking at other leagues, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, cricket,
lacrosse,
and I'm looking at what they're doing to make it happen. But let's move back to the NHL here. We got some picks we got to make. And let's start off with a big game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the New York Rangers. I also have some props for you guys.
It's almost a must win for the Rangers, I'd say here.
Yeah.
Definitely of how hot Montreal has been.
Well, and they played 2 more games. They're already up 2 games.
Yeah, for the Rangers, I would say this is like a do or die game because they played 2 more games in Montreal when they're a point behind them.
Wow.
So who are you taking, Chazzy? Then Rangers or Toronto? Toronto coming off a tough game against the Avs.
They're pinching me, but I'm not giving up on the Rangers. So
you're saying Rangers. Dan, Rangers or Leafs?
I don't know. This is very tough. I love Toronto, and I think Toronto can beat them, but I don't think the Rangers are giving up yet. I think the Rangers still got some more fight in them. So, I think the Rangers are getting this one.
I'm going to say Toronto, and I think it's going to be a surprise here. I think that this is going to be a very low event game. I mean, Colorado, Toronto, it was more of a goaltending duo. I think this one's going to be very low event, very tight check, and another like 3-2 tight game.
Wow.
But now let's get into some props. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, these are all custom props built in the Streakers app. Props for you, by you. So, will the Toronto Maple Leafs take a too many men on the ice penalty? Because they've been doing that more than any team in the league this year. Chazzy and Dan, do you think they're going to do it? Another too many men? They had another one last night against Colorado.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm really saying no. We got to figure this stuff out.
I'm going to say yes, and I think a big reason is the line juggling.
Oh.
People just don't know what line they're supposed to be on. Will JT Miller get at least 3 shots?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Ooh.
What? No, it must win. He'll be lighting them up.
Will William Nylander get 2 breakaways?
2.
No.
I love Willie's. I'll say yes. You don't think that's crazy?
I'm also going to say yes because no one gets as many breakaways as Willie Styles.
Willie's
Remember, download the Streakers app. This is in our sports booth, the Streakers Island sports booth. Remember to learn how you can create your own sports booth. There's so much you can do with this app. Chazzy, literally, I swear, I think he has tape that he puts on his eyes, right, to keep his eyes open. So he's just like this. Must make Streakers better. He's like, hello, my name is Chazzy. I'm the app developer sent by Streakers.
Yeah.
For anyone who's played Detroit Become Human, they'll get that reference. If you haven't played the game.
And don't forget, if you're listening to us and like, hey, how can I make my podcast like that? If you have a podcast, join the Streakers app and let your listeners play with your podcast like how we do.
That this is how we do because we're fresh like, okay,
Yeah.
50 Cent.
Right.
Now let's
Montreal
go.
Islanders.
Mm.
You guys
I'm
ready?
going to say, I'm sorry, Chazzy. I'm taking my Islanders. The only way you won't give up on the Rangers, that's me on the Islanders. They're both Islanders.
I respect that. They are tough.
You're supposed to be a professional, bro.
But this is another big game for Montreal. Like
It's a big game for both of these teams.
huge. Yeah.
Remember too, because if the Islanders win this, they're only 1 point out of a playoff spot.
With 2 games in hand.
Oh, takes Montreal.
Like this is.
I think
The Islanders still have a shot. I think this is a must-win for the Islanders. I think if the Canadians lose it, they're not as screwed as the Islanders are. So I'm going to say the Islanders are going to get it done. Dan, Islanders or Habs?
I'm making my boss happy. I'm saying Montreal.
Chazzy, Islanders or Habs?
Oh, Habs for sure. All right. Will there be a penalty for both teams in the second period?
Yes.
Yeah, there's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
Matt Martin versus Robert Jacki. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
I feel that it could be a rough one. Will there be a shorthanded goal?
No.
I say no because Islanders don't know how to score goals.
I'm gonna say yes. Will Montreal outshoot the New York Islanders?
Oh, absolutely.
They did against the Sens too.
Yeah.
The Islanders don't like to shoot.
Yeah, literally. Wide open net. Pass.
All right, that's it. So join us on the Streakers app.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Join us, but you can't be us.
We'll already be in a sports booth there. So just on the landing page, click the sports booth. You'll see 3 of 10 in there. Up to 10 players can play in the sports booth.
Nice and easy to find. And if you have any questions about the Streakers app, you're having a hard time, shoot us an inbox or shoot something in the comment. And one of the 3 of us will be very happy to help you with a video.
But you know who isn't happy right now? Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
So
he's okay. He'll be fine.
I think Pittsburgh's done waiting for his who was it? Haywood? Haywood's like done. We're done. If you gotta take this long, you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? You're gonna be
and the Vikings are out.
The Vikings are out?
Vikings are out. JJ McCarthy's their guy.
What?
Who's backing them up? Anything? No, I guess they don't have anyone yet, eh?
But they don't want to pay Aaron Rodgers that much money to be a backup and go on darkness retreats.
So where is he going now?
The Giants are still waiting on him.
But didn't
he might have to
the
go
Giants just pick someone up? No,
not a starter. They were looking into Jameson Winston.
Oh yes, that's it. We talked about that Winston. Yes,
who's I think's got potential, but so I think Aaron Rodgers might be going to the Giants.
Yeah,
which the Giants were not good last year.
No.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers makes them that much better.
No.
Because I don't think they have to receive. And I do agree with you guys as much as I went on Aaron Rodgers' tangent on Tuesday.
They don't have bad receiving core. I'm just trying to figure out. I don't think they have the greatest line, which was the issue in New York.
Right.
Or I should say the issue in with the Jets.
Now, I'm going to say something crazy because it's a podcast. Why not? Why not put Aaron Rodgers in Vegas?
No, they got Gino.
Carr.
Oh.
Okay, so where do you think he goes?
Well, Vegas is not the answer, obviously, so I'm out.
I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to take a wild one here, and depending on what price he's willing to sign, maybe the Jags.
You just said the Giants.
Oh, yeah, Cleveland? I know. But sorry, Chassis?
Cleveland?
Yeah, maybe the Browns. He's going to go to the Texans, replace CJ Stroud. No, obviously not.
But he's basically running out of time. Like, what is he waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Or is it teams to make offers to pay him?
I don't know. Like, you look at teams, Broncos don't need a quarterback, Chargers don't need a quarterback, Chiefs don't need one, Ravens don't need one. Sounds like Steelers are sticking with Wilson. Bengals don't need one. Texans don't need one. So maybe the Titans, the Jags, the Browns. I don't even think the Patriots, because I think
you don't like sunshine in the Jags?
I've never been a Trevor Lawrence fan. No.
Really?
Not at all. I think he's one of. When they paid him that much money, I couldn't stop laughing. So I'm like, you're overpaying a guy that's had one okay year.
I just thought of something for Aaron Rodgers. He's going to go to Miami.
No, Tonga Tuga is going to be their starter and then get injured in week 6 again.
Wait, he's going to get injured, so someone will have to replace him when he gets injured.
Aaron Rodgers should be the new commissioner of the CFL. Screw it.
That's what I said.
Mic drop.
Okay, so that's the Aaron Rodgers conversation. No clue where he's going at this point. I don't know what he's waiting for. He's waiting for his darkness retreat to end. I don't know. You know what? Then question for you guys. Do you think he might just retire?
No.
You think he's definitely going to play one more year?
Yeah. You can't retire on that note.
You look like
I'd see him play one more year.
But do you think he wants to go to a team that sucks? Yeah. Like, straight up.
I don't think so. His time now. He's obviously weighing out his options.
I think he's taking too long, though. And I think
I agree with that.
Like, you're not.
But is that because he's not getting offers?
I know the Vikings were interested. I think it's because Rodgers, but I think he doesn't want to be a backup. I think he wants to be a starter, and I don't know if teams want him to be a starter.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a problem too.
Well, the Vikings don't. They are 100%.
Unless he waits and God forbid any of the quarterbacks get hurt. And
I was going to say
first 4 weeks tells the tale.
He'll become the Joe Flacco of next year.
Yeah.
Maybe the Cowboys if they give up on.
No, but he's the caliber that could step in and win you.
Oh, for sure.
9 or 10 games in a span of 11 or 12.
I'm not saying he's not a talented guy. I just think he needs a receiving core around him. I don't think he's the type of quarterback that can do it on its own.
No, I think he needs time. He needs time in the pocket too.
Which why I personally didn't think he made sense in the Vikings either way. But we got to get going. But because Chazzy needs milk, I need sleep. Dan needs sunlight because he's looking pretty white again.
Because it's a stupid light to make me use.
He's hungry. He's eating the letters.
He's eating the sun. So Dan, what is your island mindset?
Oh yes, that's right. Okay, mindset today is a quote, and it is what. Sometimes it's not a quote. Sometimes it's just me talking about life, but today it's a quote.
No, all I could see is your hat.
Oh, well, I'll try and read and be looking at the camera at the same time, find it kind of difficult. So, because I want to get the quote just right for all of you. And the quote is, it takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. And I think that's true. I think in life, you're constantly growing, right? And these crazy times that you're in makes you a better person and you grow from it. So I like that quote, so I'm sticking to it.
Nice.
Awesome quote. I do agree with that. Be who you are. Be true. Be you.
That's right.
But we have one more thing we need to do before we go.
Uh-huh.
Who deserves the book?
My vote is Jacob saying playing 4 defensemen on a power play. Just thinking of Chris Tanev and Jake McCabe and Benoit and Carlo on a power play with like William Nylander would be awesome.
My clown vote goes to Dan for saying Joseph Woll has no chance of being the starting goalie in the playoffs after the game he just played.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Jazzy, who are you thinking deserves the clown book?
I'm going to say more with his comment about bringing the pair of defensemen back on the Toronto Maple Leafs that played in the 90s.
Oh, Dan, on a vote of 2-1, congratulations. I will FedEx you the clown book.
Well, at least WX is FedEx.
So thank you very much, everyone, for watching the Streakers Island podcast. You looking for more Streakers Island content? Make sure you follow us on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel because the full videos get posted on YouTube. So make sure you're heading over there.
And view it. We need some views.
We need the views just like Drake's Mediocre Views album. But thank you very much.
Oh, it was a mediocre. It's a great album. Support Canadian, bro.
I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. The guy who was rudely interrupting me there is Dan Moore, more for your money.
Woo.
And the patiently waiting man is Chazzy, the CEO. Until Saturday for our live show.
Whoa.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.